Hi, Pat Battle here with Living Web Farms with our next installment of the Resilience Daily series, which we are doing in collaboration with the Organic Grower School. And we're here to talk about farmscaping, medicinal herbs, the fact that both can be done at the same time, about the fact that we love having our beneficial insects, the pollinators, the ones that use the so-called bad insects, our pest insects, as nurseries for their young or as part of their own food source. And by having lots of flowers, you get an incredible diversity of insect life, which brings balance to your farm and feeds our critical pollinators, which we're not going to have a lot of our food crops without having. Bumblebees are wonderful pollinators, and there's a whole bunch of them out here right now feeding on our California poppy, which was planted as a medicinal crop, by the way. I'll let Greta Dietrich talk about the benefits of poppy, but I know that it is helpful it helps you to sleep. There's many other benefits, but I'm not an herb expert, so I won't go into that. But we also have Campaign, which later on is going to make wonderful composite flowers. We have chamomile. We have calendula, which is just starting to flower. Clary sage, and down there, echinacea, which is just beginning to bloom. All of these are medicinals, and all of these are also beneficial insect plants. So you can do farmscaping and accomplish many other things. You can grow herbs that are edible. All the Mediterranean herbs are wonderful beneficial insect plants. The salvia type herbs like the clary sage or the culinary sage are wonderful beneficial insect type plants. All of these can be part of your farmscaping. You don't have to just grow farmscaping flowers, but you can also grow the flowers you love to look at, make your heart sing, and they will also be giving you the balance you need. However, you want to bring in the insects, and some of these insects sting in self-defense. And that isn't a downside to having bees and pollinators on your farm. You're not causing any problems. You're not endangering yourself at all with farmscaping, because when the bees are foraging, they are not in a defense mode, and the odds of them stinging are incredibly small. I won't say it never happens. You can accidentally pin one or something and get stung. But by and large, when they're out here foraging, they're not a threat. When they're a threat is when you are near their nest. And so the greatest culprit on the farm are the ground nesting yellowjackets. And the defense you have from avoiding a rude shock and a painful experience, which you can actually witness on our last alliums video. We were interrupted by Thalia, our intern, having such a rude shock. The way to avoid that is to look for a bee line before you work in an area where you can't tell what's going on. So if, for instance, we had a bee line here, we would stand off, maybe about 10 feet and just watch and see if there is a place where the bees are going with great regularity, basically a convoy of bees shooting into the hole. That's a bee line. Where there's a bee line, there's a nest, they're going to be defensive, and you want to stay away. In another video, we'll wait till there's a nest we have to take out, and we'll show you how to take out the nest you have to take out. You don't want to take any out that you don't have to take out, because they are also beneficial insects, but where humans are passing, they're dangerous, and for people who have a severe sensitivity to bee stings, they could be deadly. So we will get into that part, how to deal with the bee's nest that we have to take out, but by and large, you want to avoid them by looking at where you're going to be working and looking for that bee line. It doesn't take long to spot it. You'll see right now the bumblebees, no pattern at all. Bumblebees are mostly solitary anyways, and even if they do have a nest, it's usually pretty small. So not a great threat. The real big threats are the bald-faced or white-faced hornets, and they tend to have those paper nest, and the yellowjackets. They're the two that are very aggressive and very defensive and make big colonies. So we're going to try and show you both and teach you how to avoid those in another video. But right now I want to talk about what to do if you're unfortunate enough to have missed that bee line and happen to stumble on a ground nest, or worse yet, a white-faced hornet nest. If you have their ire and they come after and sting you, the most important thing to do is get away as quick as possible. Don't try to swat at them or do anything else, just move away as fast as possible. And as soon as you are far away from them and they're no longer chasing you, start looking for your outdoor pharmacy. And in this case, it is plantain. Plantain is a wonderful gift to us. There's two versions. I pulled the lance leaf so that it could be here with the broadleaf. If you look at the leaves, they help you to identify it because they always have these notable veins that head from the base of the plant, from the base of the rosette to the tip. So you can see those veins. They help you to identify it. It's always a rosette, and they have these flowers. They're nondescript. These aren't in bloom yet. They're green. It's a rosette with the flowers shooting up. But later in the season, they tend to get quite brown. These are in the stage in between. And they're just these brown, nondescript little cones sticking up. So it's a rosette with those leaves that are coming out from the base, the veins that are coming out from the base of the leaf to the top of the leaf. And there's the lance leaf and the broadleaf. So you take this, and as soon as you get stung, you just take a piece of it and you use your mouth, because it's the way you're going to most quickly get a paste that you can stick on a sting. Okay? And if it's a bad sting, you just put another piece in and start chewing it again. And as soon as you have another piece ready, you replace it. Plantain has a wonderful drawing power. You can use this for any kind of bite. If I got bit by a poisonous snake, I would go to the hospital. But if I saw some plantain on the way, I would grab it. I would be chewing it up and putting on that sting, on that bite, and I would be pulling some of the poison out. I'm not so sure that I'd have a major effect, but at least I'd feel like I was doing something, and that'd take my mind off of being bit by a poisonous snake. So keep your eye out for plantain. It's good to know where it is, wherever you are on the farm, in case you have an accident or in the garden and do bump into a nest. Be ready to grab it. Maybe it's too close to the yellow jackets or whatever, and you have to wait for them to settle down, and maybe somebody else should go back and grab it because you might have pheromones that'll bring them back out again. But as soon as you can get it, chew it up and put it on. If you can't access it, this is probably the best use there is for cigarettes. I one time got stung in a van, didn't have any access to plantain. There was a friend who smoked. I said, "Can I have a cigarette?" Because I remember being told that worked. I've had reports from other people that their fathers or uncles had done it for them as kids. Take that cigarette, I wouldn't chew it because nicotine's pretty toxic, but I'd take my saliva and make a paste and put that on, and it works almost as well. Hopefully you don't have cigarettes available and won't get stung where you don't have plantain. The good news is the plantain goes away in the winter, but so do the stinging insects and the beneficial insects. So that's a good bit of information to have. You'll be a lot happier, and that's it for this one. Remember to check us out on Instagram at Living Web Farms.